I love you once again. We are with Dr. David Anderson. He is in Sarasota, Florida, at the facilities that he preaches from for a number of years. Beautiful facilities in Sarasota, Florida. Someday he'll tell you how to get there if you're watching in other parts of the United States. It'd be great sometime because his name and address goes on the screen from time to time, to write to him if you're watching. And the parts of the country that you're watching this, it is neat to know where you are. And
that's true. Yeah, I really enjoy hearing from other cities and other states and people watching in some surprising locations.
And it just, I remember years ago, Jim Gates, who does the closed captioning, he was letting me know, this is a long time ago. He said, I just got a letter, how much they appreciate, at that time, it wasn't this, we were doing a regular program in the studio, and how much they appreciate you guys, and boy, they don't miss a program or whatever. And he said, because he had a way of pinpointing exactly where they were in New York, and he found out they were in the most exclusive condos overlooking the what is that?
Central Park?
Central Park. And he says, can you imagine looking out over Central Park in a high rise and they're watching your program? He said, they're not poor. But I mean, you can even pinpoint exactly where they are. It's
That's
just
amazing.
It's fascinating. That's why it's so good, if you people are watching, just to let Dave know how many are being blessed by this Bible study, because let me tell you something, Canada, the door for the gospel is closing like this. Now, I don't know if somebody can be voted out, and a guy that loves the Lord and loves the Bible and loves souls or whatever in politics changes that, but it looks like it's closing. And what a shame, because Canada, I just love Canada. I mean, it's a beautiful country. That's where Sharon and I spent our 50th anniversary, the Rocky, because I love mountains. And so we don't know when that window is going to close, and that's why I feel such an urgency in this year that I have left to get the gospel out to as many people as we can. And you're saying right there, saying, okay, Herman, shut up and let Dave teach.
Well, we are in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, a fascinating passage of scripture that has a great deal of theological depth to it. This is Paul writing, verse 7. Lest I should be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure.
Now, if that was from Satan, why couldn't he rebuke that?
Well, that's what we're going to get to. But let's go backwards in the verse with lest I should be exalted above measure. Paul understood what this messenger from Satan and this thorn in the flesh was. He was aware of his internal pride that could be easily fueled by all of his accomplishments and the fact that God had revealed to him great spiritual truth, the accolades of others, and then that special designation as an apostle. Paul was aware that his pride could easily embrace those things and be internalized.
Wow.
And so because he was aware of that, he was able to accept God's answer to his request for God to remove this thorn in the flesh.
Well, he looked at it as a reminder. Every time he felt that pain, it was a reminder.
It sort of a governor. It restricted him from being too proudful. And he called it a thorn in the flesh was given to me. So whatever the thorn was, we'll get to that in a minute, it was given. It wasn't imposed.
Wow.
It wasn't a punitive measure. It was a beneficial purpose. So he saw this irritating, aggravating thorn in the flesh that he's going to ask God to get rid of. He sees it that God gave it to him, bequeathed it, endowed it to him. It was a blessing, but a painful one. So what was that thorn in the flesh? Well, it could have been a physical ailment. He had many, I'm sure. We probably had arthritis. That's what many scholars think, because he had to write with such a big hand, he said, and he had been beaten and stoned, Some people think he had bad eyesight, like he was going blind. That's why he had to write in big letters. He had a speech impediment that he referred to, that he stuttered and stammered. Woodrow Kroll used to teach that he had epilepsy, and that had humiliated him a number of times in front of crowds. This great preacher would then fall down and have an epileptic fit. Or he could have just been bent over and hurt and painful from the whippings, the beatings, and the stonings. It could have been the opposition that was following him around, or it could have been the trouble in the churches. Whatever it was, he used it as the word scallops in Greek, is the word translated thorn here. Scallops is really better translated stake, as in a stake of wood, like you drive in a vampire's heart. A stake. This is a stake into my flesh. And that indicates the intensity of the suffering he was enduring. So what does that in the flesh mean? Well, it could mean it was actual physical.
Did he continue praying that the Lord would take that away? Or did he just at one point say, I'm not going to ask it anymore?
Well, he never brings it up again after the Lord gives him his response in a minute. There's no account of him bringing it up again. So we assume he accepted the Lord's answer. But remember what this is. It is a in the flesh. So that either means it is literally his body. Maybe his hands are arthritic. Maybe he's slumped over. Maybe it's a speech, it's a physical trait, or it's a reference to the weakness of the flesh. And that could be related to his pride. But whatever it is, it's very, very personal. And he identifies it as also a messenger of Satan. Well, how could a messenger of Satan be given by God? See, and that's the theological paradox that doesn't jibe well with modern Christianity, that God allows any suffering into our lives, or that God directs any suffering into our lives. That doesn't make any sense at all to modern Christianity, but it did to Paul. He said, this messenger of Satan was given to me. Because God is sovereign. He controls all things, whether we want to admit that or not, whether he allows it or directs it. Nothing can happen into our lives that is not under the sovereign control of God. And this messenger of Satan that means Satan was trying to use it to send Paul a message. You're inadequate. You're not enough. You're weak. Or whispering into him, you're something special. You're an apostle. You deserve to be treated better when you come into a town. It's a messenger of Satan. So this thorn in the flesh is communicating something to Paul that is a daily nagging thing. And then again, he then repeats his phrase, lest I be exalted above measure. He says that twice in one sentence. So that is in Paul's mind. Lest I be exalted, I've been given this, lest I be exalted. Paul is aware of his human pride, of which every one of us should be, particularly preachers of the gospel. We are highly susceptible to the weaknesses of pride because people are coming to hear us talk every week. People respect us, admire us, want us to like them. That can really go to your head, particularly as your crowd grows, your head can grow.
You know, I had a little taste of that, Dave. You remember Super 60s?
Yes, yeah.
Became the leading one in the nation, and thousands of senior adults coming and many people being saved. And I remember after every program, they were pulling at me and standing in line to talk to me. And they even cut out, because of our literature, they'd cut out pictures from the literature of my face and pin it to their lapels and whatever. And all of the things that, just as you have said, that if you allowed it, you start thinking, wow, that's me they're pulling on. That's me they're asking. That's me they're hugging. That's me they're, and that would result in somebody exalting themselves above measure.
Oh, certainly. It's only natural human tendency, and we all would have it. So we all have to be aware of that. Well, Paul's risk was so intense, and he was so critical to the early stages of the church, God sent him a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan. So we come to verse 8 and 9. Concerning this thing, this thorn in the flesh, this messenger of Satan, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect. And then the word your is not in there, but it's implied in your weakness. I pleaded with the Lord 3 times. And this would be similar to Jesus requesting God 3 times in the garden, take this cup from me.
Yes, yes.
He pleaded 3 times. He pleaded. So this is Paul passionately praying that God would remove this demonically empowered thorn. Now, if you want to have anybody in the world pray for you after Jesus, it would be the Apostle Paul. Paul was able to heal diseases and cast out demons and preach mightily, but he asked God with great passion, and I have no doubt great faith, and he doesn't get what he asks for. Now, you could say, well, that's just Paul. The rest of us, if we ask with enough faith, we'll always get what we want. There's a lesson to be learned there, that God has different purposes than ours. And so what God says is, I'm going to answer your prayer, but I'm going to give you my grace instead of relief from your problem. And my grace is sufficient. So we come to, Paul writes in Philippians 4, 6, and 7, an application of what he learned here. He said to the Philippians, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. So Paul is telling the Philippians, whatever is on your heart and mind, don't be fretful, don't be worried, just ask God. But he doesn't say, and God will give it to you, or God will fix the problem. He says, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will keep your heart and mind. That's what Paul had learned, that you don't always get what you want, but you always get what God wants for you.
Have you
And
experienced
so
that peace?
I have experienced that a number of times, yes. As a matter of fact, I try to depend on it on a daily basis. Now, I live with just as much anxiety and stress as anybody else. I'm no better than anybody else, but I do know those times when I have applied that passage and the principle of surrendering to God my greatest concerns and wants and needs, and being willing to accept his response, even if it's yes, no, or wait, and letting his grace and peace sustain me, I'm a much happier, fulfilled, peace-filled, gracious man. But when I obsess on what I want and don't get it, that's when I become tense and angst. And so that principle applies. I think it's a daily principle that we should apply every day. I mean, they said, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. The strength is made complete and whole when human self-reliance is eradicated. So he's saying to Paul, I could take this thorn in you and you'd be strong again, but my strength, God's strength, is more prevalent in you. You're more aware of it. You're more dependent upon it when you don't have any strength. So he is telling Paul, this isn't about you, Paul. This is about me working through you. And I can work more effectively through your weakness than I can in your strength, because your strength feeds your pride. And so that doesn't mean God doesn't want anybody strong. It's tailored to every individual believer. This was Paul's challenge. God might give some wonderful, humble Christian tremendous athletic ability, or a vocal ability, or oratory ability, to be able to sing, or great artistic ability beyond what other humans have. God can certainly do that. But for Paul, he was saying, nope, I need you to stay weak so that I can show my strength in you, so that Satan doesn't take you because of your pride. So we come to verse 9 and 10. This is his response. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities instead of asking God to take them away, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now that's a tremendous.
How do you put that into action?
By first of all, joy is a result of how we are thinking, not how we are feeling. Paul has now reassessed this thorn in the flesh. Actually, he'd already done it by the time he's giving this account, because he's telling the Corinthians what had happened to him. So when he had that thorn in the flesh hit him, he'd been suffering with it. He came to God, asked God to take it away. He then changed his mind about it and saw it as being a gift from God to keep him humble so that he might have more strength in Christ and glorify Christ. So instead of whining and pleading to God to take it away, he now rejoices in it and gladly boasts of it.
It's
When I am
interesting.
weak, I'm strong.
It's interesting that Johnny Erickson Tata wanted more than anything to walk again. And then as the years passed, she is now happy and would not want any different life than she has. Now,
Well, the way that we respond to things and our sense of fulfillment has everything to do with the way that we view something, our perspective of it. I remember my mother, who before we got saved, smoked about 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. We became believers, and we became believers in churches that openly sort of preached against smoking. It was not just bad for your health, it was a sin. You shouldn't do it. So my mother struggled with giving up smoking. She gave up smoking and she gained a lot of weight because of it, because you had to replace the cigarettes with something else. She gained a lot of weight. And so then over the years, she would dabble in smoking again and always struggled with it, could never totally break the habit. And then about a few years before her death, the doctor told her she had emphysema. And if she didn't start smoking immediately, she was going to be like dead within a year. Well, my mother never took another cigarette. Same body, same craving, but her mind changed about the cigarette. It no longer was helping her get through a day. It was now robbing her of days. So she was able to give it up immediately and never smoked again, and then lived for quite a few more years till she finally passed away. That's what happens to the believer when we look at the things in our life that are unpleasant and we see them as being unpleasant and irritating and inconvenient. Then it agitates us. We have to get rid of it. But if we see it instead as an opportunity for God's grace to flow through us and us respond to that with grace and love and kindness and patience, we react to it differently. But we won't react differently unless we change our mind about it, unless we think about it differently. And when he says, I'm going to boast about it, he didn't mean brag. He meant he's going to proclaim it. He's going to show the proper respect for his infirmities because of what they are. They are tools of the Lord.
Have you ever, I mean, because you deal with it a lot in your church, people that have a week left or they're in hospice or have a year left. How do you handle that? Because when you're, what they're wanting you to do, I'm sure, is to pray for them and ask for the healing that they need, right?
Well, it depends where they are in that phase of dying. Once they've accepted that their death is unavoidable, they relax. If they're a believer, they accept it with grace, and they just want to get the most out of whatever days they have left, and they set that aside. Once they realize that God is taking them home and that healing is not coming, that this is literally their departure, their whole attitude changes. Of course, some of them might be dealing with pain at the same time, but the mental anguish that I am dying fades for the believer when they have that time to work it out, because they see it as, I'm going to go be with the Lord. Now, when it's the earlier part of the disease or the death phase, they're praying for healing, but that changes once they accept, this is just God working in me. And so Paul says that by saying, I've done this that the power of Christ may rest upon me. So he saw the purposes of his infirmities was to situate his heart in such a way that it would be an unhindered vessel of God's power. His full health and strength in some way was a hindrance to God's power in his life. Since he saw that now like that, he said, fine, I will embrace this infirmity then, because that makes me more spiritually powerful, which is exactly what Johnny Erickson Tata has come to. She realizes her platform around the world came from her infirmity.
Explain her condition, because it just flashed in my mind. People watching don't even know.
Yeah, it's been so long since she was really a famous entity in the young world, but when she was a young woman, she jumped into a river, I believe, or a lake, and there was a log there, and she hit it and cracked her neck, severed her spine, and she was paralyzed, quadriplegic from the neck down.
Yeah.
But she responded in an amazing way, became a fantastic artist by drawing with pencil or paintbrush, putting it in her mouth and doing drawings, became a speaker of the grace of God, and has held that um, grace-filled position for like 40 years or more. It's
And
been forever.
she's written
Yeah.
numerous books. I don't know, 40 or
She's an
50.
amazing woman
In
of
fact,
faith.
Dave, see this picture right over my head?
Yes.
She gave me that. She did that with a pencil in her mouth because she knows I love horses,
Yeah.
and I had it framed.
That's amazing.
That's her work right there. And she sings, writes songs, can paint with her, with a pencil in her mouth, and I mean writes the best books you've ever, and devotionals. Just God has used her in such ways that she probably would have never known she had that kind of talent had she had been physically, because she was very athletic and loved to ride horses, and I think equestrian kind of jumping and so forth. So her whole life was transformed.
Yes. And she didn't resent God. She submitted to God and watched the power of God make her a global spokesperson for Christ. That's a spirituality that you and I aspire to. So then Paul says, therefore I will take pleasure in. So he chose to rejoice in his suffering, this thorn of the flesh, whatever it was, by seeing the value of it. And then he added those other things: reproaches, needs, persecutions, distresses. So he took this thorn in the flesh, and how he responded to that, he said, I'm going to respond the same way to the exterior things that are in my life, the enemies, the oppositions, the shipwrecks. I'm going to look at all of those from now on, from this viewpoint. And his conclusion was, because when I am weak, then I am strong. And it wasn't because he enjoyed the suffering. The suffering did not become enjoyable. He rejoiced in the suffering. And that's a very different thing. He didn't delight in the way he felt. He delighted in the result of how he felt.
Have you ever been to that place where you felt spiritually high?
Yes. Yes. I've had some wonderful opportunities of great opportunities and being in an environment or situation where I feel like I'm really being used of the Lord. Then I've been in times where I feel like I'm fairly insignificant. And you can be highs and the lows. And one of the moments of my life that I learned, I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago, my daughter reminded me of it a few weeks ago. It was in the summer, and I just was overwhelmed here at church with the huge debt, the struggles in the church family, the challenges of being a pastor far beyond my natural abilities. And I was staying up every night and could not sleep, trying to figure out answers and solutions in my head. What could we do here? What could we do there? And one night I just broke and I said to Lord, I can't, this is all bigger than me. It's beyond me. I can't lead this church through this valley we're going through. I can't raise the funds. I can't manage the staff. I can't be what these people need. All I can do is preach and teach the word of God accurately. And I surrendered myself to focus on that. Lord, I'm weak, I'm incapable, but you've given me the ability and the calling to read your word and teach it. I'm going to do that. And from that moment on, I've had very few sleepless nights. I've awakened sometimes at 3 or 4 in the morning with a thought in my head and wrestled with it for an hour, but it had been 4 years where I was not sleeping at all at night, other than cat napping, just could not shut my brain off. After I made that surrender to God, that I am weak and you are strong, I'll give you what I've got, do what you want with it, I sleep like a baby. Everything is the same. And God has got us through now, 8 or 9 more years? That may have been 10 years ago. I forget when it was that happened. And we're at the stage now where we're about to go into a brand new era of our church of being out of debt in the fastest growing area of Sarasota. We're perfectly situated. God did all that. And I just had to give up. So James, the half brother of Jesus, by the way, James writes this about Paul's attitude, or echoing it in chapter 1, verse 2 through 4. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But then let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect. I mean, that means whole and complete, lacking nothing. Now, he didn't mean lacking no money, lacking food. He means lacking nothing that you need to serve God. So when James says, rejoice when you fall into all the different trials and struggles and difficulties that you're facing, he's echoing what Paul has said. I now rejoice in the infirmity of my body. And remember, it could have been something as severe as epilepsy. It was something physical, I believe, that people could see because they would make fun of him.
Wow.
Oh, he's so weak and feeble when he's in our presence, but when he's away, he writes these big, strong, bossy letters, but he's not much when you see him. The image over the decades of my faith in Christ, I've heard many preachers say, he was humped over and probably had a hunchback. He was arthritic, osteoarthritis, and slumped over shoulders, and a feeble man, and maybe had bad knees. They describe him as being this sort of a physical wreck. Now, we don't know what it was, but it was enough where Paul passionately asked God to please take it from me. So we can take that to you and me. What ails us? What irritates us and frustrates us? Go ahead and ask God to take it away, but be ready for his answer to be, no, my grace is sufficient for you, because when you're weak, I am strong.
I'm thinking when you're talking, Romans 12, 1 and 2,
Yes.
he says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice unto God.
Yes.
I mean, that's quite a statement.
Yes.
But if he said it, he's asking us to do it.
Yes. And before he wrote that, was in verse 28, 10 verses earlier, Paul said, I reckon, or I consider, that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in us. So you see how perspective leads to a response. The way we see things, God is moving in your life. You might not sense it. You might not like the way it's happening, but believe me, God is bringing things into your life to make you dependent upon him, so his power can flow through you. Accept it with joy. Ask God to remove it if you want, but let God give you his power and his peace and his patience.
Jesus is your answer. God bless. Bye-bye.